thanks everybody for coming. Thank you, Alice, for inviting me. So this is not going to be so much, I kind of lied and said this was a performance, but it's actually going to be more of a screening with presentations of different work that I've made over the past 3 years. Can we get the things rolling on the sides? It's all recent AI work that I made, video works, over the past 3-4 years. And in it, you'll be able to see, just in 3 short years, how much my image-making practice has changed because of how much the algorithms have changed. And for me, it's even more than, let's say, how much the photography has transformed since the beginning of photography over nearly 200 years ago with the daguerreotype. So imagine, the videos you're about to watch, you'll see how much they've changed, aesthetically. And when I said I want to end it, the psyop, I actually meant more that I think this idea of even any concept of a truth or a shared reality has collapsed. So it's not so much, I'm not going to be so presumptuous as thinking I can end it, but rather, point to how, the very notion of any sort of consensus of what truth or reality is no longer exists. And AI being, in a way, the most, the perfect tool to explore that because it, reflects that and accelerates that. So the work, I think one of the aspects of the work that you'll see that's all tied together is this, epistemic crisis we're in. But I'll talk more as I screen it. So I'm going to start with a piece. You can turn on my screen. With a piece I made just 3 or 4 years ago. And you'll see how much things have changed.
I'm what you call a military brat. Moved around a lot growing up. When my dad was stationed in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, we lived next to my uncle PJ. After school, PJ would pick me up and take me to one of those McDonald's with the play place. When I was home for the holidays last Thanksgiving, I saw a picture of PJ on my mom's dresser, and it jump-started this weird memory of PJ that played out in my head like a video. You see, PJ was kind of a mentor to me. I remember one time at the play place, he pulled me aside and in a stern voice said that if I wanted to become strong and self-reliant like him, I had to follow a strict schedule. He called it the Sigma male routine.
2 a.m., wake up. 2:05 a.m., cold shower. 2:15 a.m., breakfast, almonds, breast milk bought off Facebook. 50 milligrams Adderall. 2:30 a.m., begin workout. Incline bench 2 plates. 12 by 12 with 30 seconds of rest. No warm up. 2:45 a.m., edging. 4 hours for discipline. 6:45 a.m., cold shower. 7 a.m., begin sprint to work. 8 a.m., arrive at work. 8:05 a.m., get called into boss's office. 8:06 a.m., get fired from job for repeated inappropriate comments and predatory behavior. 8:10 a.m., sprint back home. 9:10 a.m., lunch, raw cod. Berries foraged on the way home. Small pebbles for digestion. 50 milligrams of Adderall. 9:30 a.m., edging as punishment. 3 p.m., bedtime.
Strange thing is that when I asked my mom at dinner how Uncle PJ is doing and why we don't ever invite him to family gatherings, she looked at me all flummoxed and said that PJ had been in a maximum security penitentiary since before I was even born.
yes, like I said, this is using an old algorithm from Midjourney that is you can still access it, but not many people use it, and maybe one day it won't be available. But it has this painterly quality that no longer really is part of AI. So on one level, I feel like it not only is the work, you know, it's both investigating these themes that are universal and you see throughout my practice, but at the same time, it is very much in a way retro now, or it has a patina and acts somewhat like an archive of a moment. But these days, these moments are happening week to week almost, of like how much how fast things are changing. And I forgot to mention, we're sandwiched by two series that are much older, and my work began sort of as being a net artist, just excited with the advent of Web 2.0 and all these and the ubiquity of the internet, and how the internet, and this is perfect for the title of this conference, was creating new syntaxes, new grammars, languages. And as an artist, that's what we're always looking for, is new ways to communicate. When there's no longer these universal languages like the Bible or Greco-Roman mythology, or pop culture even, to communicate. I was searching for new universal languages, and for me, the internet is the closest we have. So in both these projects, I saw myself more as a virtual explorer of different virtual worlds. One that's not pictured here is Second Life, this one Google Street View, which maybe in a way, now in retrospect, kind of acts as the last sort of objective world, because on some level, we give these images weight as being true. And this is my messy keyboards, which to me are the portals to these virtual worlds. So these were romantic quests where I was a cyber planner. And these days with AI, I see myself more as an actual world builder. So in all these works, I'm creating worlds, which leads me to the next one, which is much newer. I mean, I could show more. I think just for time's sake, I'm just going to give little clips. And first of all, I want to shout out to Duncan, who works at Midjourney. Thanks for helping me. I wouldn't have been able to make those if I wasn't allowed to be such an early user. So here's my next one. It's part of a new series which is relating to world building, and the show I just had at Swiftmoggers, where I was trying to create an MTV for the contemporary era. You're creating AI bands and musicians and an entire network programming with just a small team, a commando team of people using AI. And one of the characters, musicians we created, called Cloudy Heart, this is a short film series, part of a short film series she started.
Found this new energy drink in the gas station cooler. Label said it keeps you awake for 12 hours, which is what I needed for night shift at the hotel. Usually stick to Red Bull. This night, I tried something different. Tasted like nothing. Didn't give me that usual caffeine buzz. I'm sitting there in the control room, feeling my eyes getting heavy, thinking I just wasted $3. That's when the first elevator cable snapped, metal screaming against metal in the shaft. Made my maintenance call, headed back to the desk. Then the phone rings. Guest in 412 telling me his head exploded. Found him sitting there on his bed, skull opened up like a flower, still talking somehow. Not with his mouth, but right into my brain. Tells me the drink's keeping me awake by breaking the world instead of my body. After that, the calls kept coming. Girl pressed flat against the floor like a pancake. Dogs walking on two legs in the halls, telling me they're done with room service, moved on to bigger things. People stepping off balconies like they're testing new wings. Me running through it all with my key card, trying to write incident reports about things that can't be reported. Turns out an energy drink can keep you up two ways. Speed up your heart or slow down reality. until it cracks. By sunrise, everything went quiet. Just me walking out past the morning shift, leaving her a logbook full of impossible things and a hotel full of bodies. The empty can still in my purse. Right now, I'm watching it sit on my kitchen counter, waiting to see what kind of night shift it wants me to work next. I keep photobombing this strange lady when she takes selfies. Started a couple years ago when I accidentally walked behind her in a mall. Since then, every time she snaps a photo, I'm there, wherever she is, standing right behind her. I'll be at work, or eating cereal in my room, even at my cousin's funeral, where everyone kept saying what a good man he was, which he wasn't. Then suddenly, I'm standing behind her as she poses in front of a fountain or a boutique window. Then things got darker. There was a flash and found myself in another country behind her, mid-selfie. I was stuck there with no passport, no way home. I had to get a job at some factory just to eat. Then one day I disappeared again and materialized behind her in an apartment filled with pill bottles and dirty needles. Then came the underpasses, dumpsters, liquor store parking lots. Each new photo, she looked worse. Gaunt. Eyes hollowed out. Her hands shook as she raised that gold iPhone. Once I landed in a crack den, people nodding off in the corners, burnt spoons on the floor. She was still taking selfies. Yesterday was the worst. I blinked, found myself in a dark room, boarded windows, blood on the floor, people tied to chairs. She was one of them, bound like the rest, yet somehow she was still holding the phone, posing like she was at the beach. When she looked at her screen, she noticed me in the background. Our eyes met through the glass. First time ever. "I can help you," I said, but her eyes went wide with terror, started screaming, threatening to call the cops. Like seeing me was somehow worse than everything else. I want this to stop.
Yes, so that was made at the beginning of this year, and you can see how much. Now, with the ability to keep characters more consistent, I can start telling more linear narratives. I'm going to try to speed through things, but I think one thing that I think is very exciting for me, and which is demonstrated in the Cloudy Heart project, is that now, like I said, there's this ability to world build, but also create avatars that can develop their own life and in many different media. So she has a pop career, and you can check out her music on Spotify. She has a crypto side to her. She has merch components. So for me, and if there's any VCs in the audience, I'm using this also as promotion for a potential, 360 AI creative studio, where no longer, I think, AI is an incredible tool, and that allows people like, artists to be able to create what used to require millions upon millions, maybe giant teams of hundreds plus, and make things in less than, 100 times 100 times faster than what it could be, especially animation. So, there's the potential for me is incredible. And I think I'll talk more about it, but at the core of a lot of the work is this desire, or technology like the internet simultaneously brings us closer together, opens up new vistas, but it also, of course, alienates ourselves from each other, from our own self, from history. And so I've always tried to use the very tools that do this as the tool to make my work, or as the material for my work. So in this, and the new work that I'm about to premiere, which is your first eyes, at least in North America, to ever seen it, was just made for a show that just opened 2 days ago which is the first retrospective of my Google Street View series, which is you see here on the slideshow of. And I wanted to use AI to look back at it and try to make something new of this project. And so that's what you'll see here. And in a way, I made these films maybe 4 days before the show opened because Sora 2 was launched, which allowed me to finally put myself into these movies when in the past I was just a voiceover. So we'll talk a little bit about those here. This street looks familiar, but I don't recognize that man on the corner. Has he always been there? The geography doesn't hold. I'll turn a corner in one city and find myself on a street in another country entirely. The transitions are seamless. Same lighting, same quality of image. I keep seeing these guys in different cities, everywhere. I call them the cleaners. Sometimes when I feel like I'm getting close, I see them, and things change. What am I trying to find? I can't remember. I'll keep looking. Chaos has its own rhythm. I'm looking for an address. I lived there as a kid. The feeling's starting to rise. I must be close. No, this is all wrong. When I get close to finding whatever it is I'm looking for, they appear. And then it's gone. Not just hidden from view, gone completely, erased. And I forget why I was looking. I was looking for something. I can't remember what. I think the world is narrowing. Each time something gets erased, there's less of it. Fewer streets, fewer buildings, fewer people standing on corners. Most people don't check Street View anymore. Why would they? We've accepted that what exists here is what's real. If you can find it in Street View, it exists. If it's been deleted from Street View, it never existed at all. I've started to recognize a texture to things that are about to be erased, a shimmer at the edges. imagery keeps changing as I navigate. They seem to be updating it in real time. They're cleaning up errors, glitches, things that don't belong in the system. Maybe I'm one of them. What was I saying? I'm looking for something. I've forgotten what. It was supposed to be right here, whatever it was. There I am, still searching. The light is changing. The sun is setting. It looks like the end of something. The light here never changes. It's always midday. The same midday everywhere, forever. I'm searching for something.
That's off the front. I don't want to thank you, talk too much about that because I'm still processing, because I think it's important for an artist not to start with an intellectual conception of something and still, shoot from the hip, go with your intuition, and then think back on the meaning of it. But now that I just watched it with you guys, I see it. On one level, I see, we spend so much time in front of the screens, and to this idea of like that is the artificial world and our physical world is somehow realer. It no longer, that dichotomy doesn't exist anymore. They've collapsed, clearly. And, on one level, if you don't exist online, on many levels, you don't really, to what extent do you exist anymore? And I was imagining Google Street View as this world where, if something's deleted from it, it no longer exists. And I've seen that, just through my years of exploring the internet. I just actually went on Second Life, and many of the places that I used to go to no longer exist, and there's no archive of them. So there's that, and there's also just, what is the role of the artist, which is what this next film, which initially was inspired by me wanting to tell my blow-up story, where I would see some sort of crime in Google Street View. Because in Google Street View, you're not given any context. You have to project what's going on. All you know is where it is in space, but you don't really have any concept of like the context behind the image. So this was my attempt to imagine that, and also, the paranoia that accompanies, our existence now online. So, and this was made just a few days ago. Both were, but especially this one. I got a strange email. The subject line was just my name, inside a single Google Street View image and a link. People send me links sometimes, but this one was different. It was one of mine. As much mine as these images can ever be. I'd found it years ago, screen captured, exhibited, archived. I stared at it for a while. The Jeep, the figure on the shoulder. I'd shown this one in Berlin, I think, or was it Toronto? I noticed the email address, coming for you at protonmail.com. I clicked the link. The location opened, but the crash was gone. Just an empty stretch of road. I had to dig back through the Street View timeline, years of captures, until I uncovered the old frame. What happened here? Then I saw it, something Google's stitching missed. A fragment between captures, a ghost image, a body face down in the road. Later I would discover from records, his fiancée. She hadn't been wearing her seatbelt. She flew through the glass. He was drunk. The cops charged him with gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated. Her parents begged the prosecutor for leniency, told the court it was an accident, that he loved her. The prosecutor still called it recklessness. He took the plea. 10 years. He kept to himself, worked out, read books. Out in 7 for good behavior. He built a small, unremarkable life. New city, new name, steady work. He became a gallery security guard. The job was monotonous, but it fit him. Long shifts, near invisibility, no one asking questions. For years he forced it down, rebuilt himself from routine, and for a while it stayed buried. Until one day the gallery unveiled a new exhibition. On his way in, he passed through the lobby, a single name in bold letters. He barely registered it, just another artist, another show. He changed into his uniform, stepped onto the gallery floor, and froze. There it was, the image, his image, framed and lit under museum glass. Everything came flooding back. All of it. It's not the system that really betrayed him, it's me. He imagines me. Opening night in New York. Critics writing essays about my haunting eye for the uncanny. Museums paying 5 figures for prints. Me at dinner parties telling how I found this one. Clicking through Northern California. Everyone laughing, refilling wine glasses. The weight of his tragedy turned into anecdote. Aperitif. And now he'll have to stand guard before it every day, protecting the monument to his own ruin. I've spent years turning strangers' pain into art. But what if someone in these images is looking back? He's not going back to prison. No way. When he comes for me, he won't be taken alive. Killing me is how he buries it again. How he's reborn. Coming for you. Yes, I'm the you. You is me. Me. Coming for me. The email pings again. Hi, John. Big fan of your work. Wondered if this piece is still available. Very striking.
So I guess, I wanted to think of my culpability, the artist's culpability. And, now that I'm not a reckless youth, trying to imagine, on one level, my relationship to these subjects who I have no idea who they are and profiting off them, but also the paranoia that exists now, both with not knowing what's real or not. The internet really is a hall of mirrors, and the longer you stare into it, it starts staring back at you. And trying to
play with all those ideas and using AI. For example, not one aspect of this other than the Google Street View images was real. So I could only have made this because of Sora 2. And for the record, I hate that version of me deeply. So yeah, I kind of want to open it up to Q&A. I know there hasn't been one yet, but do you think there's time?
Ended the Q&A.
Really quickly. I mean, if anybody's so inspired, I can keep on rambling. Should we?
Sure.
Or I can
You
repeat.
guys can raise your hand if somebody has questions.
Sure.
Yeah.
John, how do you maintain optimism?
So I'm consistently accused of sort of pessimistic dystopian outlook. And I guess that speaks to what I gave for my answer, like this is the end of the PSYOP. Because I think it's not, I think that if you try to make all this shiny positive work that glosses over reality, that's actually more cynical. And that artists, I truly believe still in this critical eye and a humanist gaze, and that, you know, if one's to ever, you know, transcend or resurrect this emancipatory potential, one needs to see reality for what it is, you know, in all its horror. But I also, you know, I haven't been this excited about, you know, the possibilities of my practice since the early days of the internet, since the Google Street View era, because, you know, this tool, you know, AI, it's just very exciting. To me, it's even a bigger revolution than, you know, on some level, photography or film. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, I think you have to both celebrate and critique, otherwise you're not being honest. Yeah.
Cool. Do we have more questions? I think we can take 2 more.
Thank you. Just wondering, that last film was narratively held tension, and I was, compared to anything else, was more like extremely absurdist or some humor in it. And at the end, I see the co-written credit. So how much of it is written or written as in prompts? I'm not at all aware of AI, so novice here.
That's a good question in the sense what the process is. I think a lot of it is a dance between the prompts and the writing. So I'll have an idea, and then rather than force, and I think this is what good artists have always done, you know, you don't try to force the technology you're using to, you know, fit some old model. For example, film is its own medium. It shouldn't try to be theater. I think, you know, a good artist using AI, and its changes constantly, you have to constantly be adapting as the AI changes, should, you know, use the bugs as if they're features. So the artifacts of the work should become part of the actual material of the work. That's what makes it interesting. And I think a lot of AI films are trying to be like normal Hollywood films, and that's just going to be a big failure at this point. Because you can't really capture the nuance. Until now, in a way, I think my AI version is like one of the best parodies I've seen of like what it is to be an artist. But yeah, using the bugs as features, and also writing something, and then when you prompt it, you don't never know what you're going to get. So you can either do brute force and try to keep on trying, you know, rendering until you get, or you respond. You know, it's like throwing paint at a canvas. You let that guide you. And use the logic of the randomness and adapt to that. So it's a kind of give and take dialectic, just like how I see, you know, technology itself. It's not that technology is determining the future. It's not this, you know, technology comes first and then changes the world. I think it actually is more the opposite in some level, where the tech that is successful actually reveals something about how our perception of the world has changed. And in this case, you know, it's completely, what I see both ideologically, just on a pure level of perception, can be completely different than every single person in this room because my algorithm is different. You know, what I'm being fed is completely different, and that determines a lot about how we think. And the scary thing, I think, is that the people creating the algorithms, you know, they know they're doing it for a specific goal, often capitalist, but that doesn't necessarily mean they fully understand, you know, the psychological ramifications, the societal ones, and Trevor talked a lot about this, you know, are so profound. I don't even think, I mean, I know that the people creating them don't fully understand the effects that they have on our society. Last one.
Okay, the last one. Well, we have 10 last ones.
Do you think we're headed towards a flat mass of monocultural indistinction, 1,000 bespoke realities, or something else entirely?
Both. I think the world is completely fragmented, and that's why I was interested in the internet, because, like I said, we live in 1,000 times 1,000 niche realities, and thus, you know, media should respond to that. I think, you know, Hollywood legacy media is trying to do the opposite and filter as many people as possible. But the truth is that, you know, if you want to be profitable, you should actually speak to all these niche subcultures. But there is a flattening, of course, at the same time. I mean, the internet flattens images, right? You can have one of the greatest works of art that's canonized next to somebody's vacation, next to a war that's going on, next to a cat AI slop. So and that flattens things on another level. And we live in an era where there's more data, you know, than ever before. There's more, you know, we're being overwhelmed by, I mean, at this point, it's kind of, we've reached this logical conclusion of how much images and garbage are piling up. And for me, that's what inspires me on some level, is this detritus that is our life, trying to find the universal or the beautiful in this piling up of garbage, you know, every single day. But at the same time, there's less and less meaning, and it's harder to construct meaning, to construct coherent narratives. And yeah, that's the crisis that I'm interested in. Thank you.